What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest superstars sits across from one of television's most outspoken hosts, and a simple question about authenticity turns into an explosive confrontation that nobody saw coming? Today, we're diving into the moment Jennifer Lopez walked off The View after a heated clash with Joy Behar that had everyone talking. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is about two powerful women, each refusing to back down, and the shocking exchange that left the studio in complete silence. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below because you won't believe how this all unfolded. The morning started like any other on The View. Jennifer Lopez, dressed in a stunning cream blazer with her signature bronze glow, settled into the guest chair with her usual confident smile. The panel, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah N., Alyssa Farah, Griffin, Sunny Hostin, and Joy Behar, were ready to discuss her latest projects, her music, her business ventures. Standard celebrity interview territory. But Joy Behar had something else on her mind. "Jennifer, welcome back to The View," Whoopi opened warmly. "Always a pleasure to have you here. You look absolutely gorgeous as always." "Thank you so much, Whoopi. It's always great to be back with you ladies," Jennifer responded, her voice carrying that familiar hint of her Bronx accent despite years in Hollywood. Sarah jumped in with enthusiasm. "Okay, we have to talk about your latest album. The vulnerability in these songs is incredible. What inspired you to go so personal this time?" Jennifer's eyes lit up. "You know, Sarah, I've reached a point in my life where authenticity matters more than perfection. I wanted to share real stories, real emotions, even if they're messy or uncomfortable. That's what true artistry is about, being honest with yourself and your audience." The conversation flowed smoothly for several minutes. Jennifer discussed her music, her acting projects, even shared a laugh about her twins getting older and becoming more independent. But Joy Behar had been unusually quiet, and anyone who knew The View knew that was never a good sign. "Jennifer," Joy finally interjected, her voice cutting through the light conversation like a blade. "You talk about authenticity, but let's be real here. You've reinvented yourself more times than Madonna, from Jennifer Lopez to J-Lo to Jenny from the Block and back again. Which one is the authentic Jennifer?" The studio felt noticeably quieter. Jennifer's smile faltered just slightly, but she maintained her composure. "I think growth and evolution are part of being authentic, Joy. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and I wouldn't want to be. But that's not what I'm asking," Joy pressed, leaning forward. "I'm asking about the calculated image changes, the strategic relationship reveals, the carefully timed career moves. Where's the authenticity in all that Hollywood machinery?" Whoopi shifted uncomfortably in her seat, clearly sensing the tension building. "Joy, I think what Jennifer is saying is that people grow and change." "No, Whoopi, let her answer," Joy said without taking her eyes off Jennifer. "I think our viewers deserve to hear from someone who's built an empire on being relatable to regular people, while living a life that's anything but regular." Jennifer's posture straightened, and for the first time since sitting down, her meaty smile completely disappeared. "Joy, with all due respect, I think you're confusing authenticity with staying exactly the same. I've never pretended to be something I'm not. I've always been open about my ambitions, my dreams, my mistakes. Have you though?" Joy shot back immediately. "Because I remember interviews where you talked about being just a girl from the Bronx who got lucky, while simultaneously building a business empire worth hundreds of millions. That seems pretty calculated to me." The other hosts exchanged glances. Sarah tried to jump in with a lighter topic, but Joy wasn't finished. "And let's talk about the relationships," Joy continued, her voice gaining momentum. "The very public romances that happen to coincide with album releases or movie premieres. The social media posts that generate headlines right when you need them most. Is that authentic, Jennifer, or is that good business?" Jennifer's jaw tightened visibly. "Joy, I don't know what you want me to say. Should I apologize for being successful? For knowing how to navigate an industry that chews up women and spits them out? For protecting my brand and my family's future?" "I want you to be honest," Joy replied sharply. "Stop with the media training and the carefully crafted responses. Our viewers are smart enough to see through the performance." "Performance?" Jennifer's voice rose for the first time. "You think my entire life is a performance?" "I think significant parts of it are designed for public consumption, yes." The studio was dead silent except for the sound of cameras rolling. Jennifer stared at Joy for a long moment, and you could practically see the wheels turning in her head. When she finally spoke, her voice was ice cold. "Joy, let me tell you something about performance. I've been performing since I was a child. Not because I wanted to trick people, but because I had dreams bigger than my circumstances. Every dance class, every audition, every rejection taught me something about persistence. And yes, I learned how to present myself professionally because that's what survival in this industry requires." Joy leaned back in her chair, but her expression remained challenging. "So you admit it's a presentation, a construction. Everything in public life is a presentation to some degree, Joy. Even this conversation right now, you're presenting yourself as the hard-hitting journalist asking the tough questions. I'm presenting myself as the celebrity trying to promote my work. But that doesn't mean our core selves aren't real. But which core self should we believe? Joy pressed. The vulnerable artist sharing her pain through music, or the businesswoman who trademarked every aspect of her image? Jennifer's eyes flashed dangerously. Why can't I be both? Why does being smart about business somehow negate being genuine about art? This is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps women trapped in impossible choices. Oh please, Joy scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. Don't turn this into a feminist issue when it's really about transparency. It is a feminist issue. Jennifer's voice cracked like a whip. When male artists are praised for being savvy businessmen, but women are called calculating and fake for doing the exact same thing. When men can date publicly without having their relationships questioned as publicity stunts, but every woman's love life gets dissected for ulterior motives. Sunny Hostin finally found her voice. Jennifer makes a valid point about the double standard. Does she though? Joy turned to face Sunny briefly before swiveling back to Jennifer. Because male artists get called out for authenticity too. We've questioned everyone from Justin Timberlake to Drake about their image construction, but not to this degree. Jennifer shot back. Not with this level of personal attack disguised as journalism. Joy's eyebrows shot up. Personal attack. I'm asking legitimate questions about your public persona. No, you're trying to tear down everything I've built by suggesting it's all fake. There's a difference between asking questions and making accusations. Whoopi tried again to steer the conversation. Ladies, maybe we should focus on the music itself. No, Whoopi, Jennifer said firmly, never taking her eyes off Joy. I want to address this because it's important. Joy, you want authenticity. Here's authentic. I grew up poor. Not Hollywood poor, actually poor. I shared a bedroom with my sisters until I was 16. I worked multiple jobs to pay for dance classes. I got turned down for roles because I wasn't white enough, wasn't Latina enough, wasn't thin enough, wasn't curvy enough, depending on what they were looking for that day. Joy remained unmoved, and that's a compelling backstory, but it doesn't address my point about calculated career moves. I'm not finished, Jennifer snapped, her composure finally cracking completely. Every strategic decision I made, every business move, every calculated risk was about ensuring I never had to go back to that place of powerlessness. Not for me, not for my children, not for the young girls who look like me and see what's possible. So you admit the moves were calculated? Jennifer stared at Joy in disbelief. Of course, they were calculated. Do you think success just happens by accident? Do you think I stumbled backwards into a multi-million-dollar career? Being strategic isn't the opposite of being authentic. It's how authentic people protect what matters to them. Sarah tried to ease the tension. I think what Jennifer is saying resonates with a lot of women who have to be strategic about their careers. Thank you, Sarah, Jennifer said, though her tone remained heated. But Joy seems determined to paint strategy as deception, because sometimes it is deception. Joy fired back. When you craft a public image that's designed to manipulate public perception, that's not authenticity, that's marketing. Marketing. Jennifer's voice went dangerously quiet. Is that what you think my life is? Marketing. I think significant portions of your public life are marketing. Yes. The question is whether you can admit that. Jennifer slowly shook her head. You know what, Joy? I've been sitting here trying to have a respectful conversation, trying to explain my perspective, but you're not interested in understanding. You're interested in gotcha moments and sound bites. I'm interested in honest answers to honest questions. No, you're interested in diminishing successful women by suggesting their achievements are somehow artificial. Jennifer's voice was rising again. You want to know what's authentic? My exhaustion, my frustration with having to justify every decision to people who've never walked in my shoes, my anger at being expected to be grateful for opportunities I created myself through decades of work. Joy leaned forward aggressively. And there it is. The victim narrative. Poor Jennifer Lopez, so misunderstood despite being one of the most privileged people in entertainment. Victim narrative. Jennifer's eyes went wide. Are you serious right now? Completely serious. You're sitting here complaining about having to explain your choices when you've made a fortune off those very choices. I'm not complaining about success, Joy. I'm calling out the impossible standard you're trying to hold me to. You want me to be simultaneously strategic enough to survive in Hollywood but authentic enough to satisfy your personal definition of genuine. You want me to be business savvy but not too calculating, vulnerable but not too emotional, relatable but not too perfect. Alyssa finally spoke up. Joy, I have to say, some of these questions do feel like they're coming from a place of judgment rather than curiosity. Joy turned on Alyssa sharply. I'm doing my job, which is asking the questions our viewers want answered. Your viewers, Jennifer repeated slowly, or you, because this feels very personal. Joy, it's not personal, it's professional. Really? Because it feels like you've decided I'm some kind of fraud and now you're working backwards to prove it. Joy's face flushed slightly. I've decided that celebrity culture is built on manufactured authenticity, and you're a prime example. There it is, Jennifer said, sitting back in her chair with a bitter laugh. You've already made up your mind. This isn't an interview. It's a prosecution. It's a conversation about truth in an industry built on illusion. Whose truth? Joy. Yours, because my truth is that I've worked harder than most people will ever work in their entire lives. My truth is that I've made sacrifices that keep me up at night. My truth is that I've earned every opportunity I've created for myself and others. And my truth, Joy shot back, is that you've packaged and sold that struggle in ways that benefit your brand more than they illuminate any deeper reality. The studio fell into a stunned silence. You could hear the cameras humming, the slight shuffle of papers, someone clearing their throat off camera. Jennifer stared at Joy with an expression that was part disbelief, part fury, and part something that looked almost like hurt. Wow, Jennifer said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Just wow. Nothing, Jennifer said, shaking her head slowly. It's just incredible to me that you can sit there and reduce my entire life's work to a marketing strategy. That you can look at everything I've accomplished and decide it's all just packaging. Joy crossed her arms defensively. I'm not reducing your accomplishments. I'm questioning the presentation of them. You're questioning my integrity, Jennifer corrected sharply. There's a difference. Your professional integrity, yes. Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it whatsoever. My professional integrity. Right? The integrity that built a career spanning music, film, television, fashion, and business. The integrity that created opportunities for countless other Latina performers. The integrity that turned a girl from Castle Hill into a global icon. That integrity. The integrity that carefully constructed each of those moves to maximize public appeal and financial return. And what exactly is wrong with that? Jennifer's voice was getting louder again. What is wrong with being smart about your career? What is wrong with understanding your market and your audience? Joy's voice matched her intensity. Nothing. If you own it, if you say yes, I'm a businesswoman first and an artist second. If you say yes, I make calculated decisions based on what will sell. But don't sit there and talk about vulnerability and authenticity when everything you do is focus grouped and market tested. You don't know anything about my process, Jennifer snapped. You don't know how I create. You don't know how I make decisions. You don't know what goes into my art beyond what you read in tabloids and gossip blogs. I know what I see publicly, and what I see publicly is a very carefully managed image. Of course, it's managed. Jennifer exploded. I'm a public figure with children and employees and responsibilities to millions of fans. Did you expect me to just stumble through my career making random decisions with no thought to consequences? Whoopi made one last attempt to moderate. Ladies, I think we're getting a bit heated here. No, Whoopi, Jennifer said firmly, holding up her hand. I want to finish this because Joy clearly has something she needs to get off her chest about me specifically. Joy didn't back down. Fine, you want me to be direct. I think you represent everything that's wrong with celebrity culture today. The manufactured relatability, the strategic vulnerability, the way personal struggles become content for public consumption. You've turned your entire life into a brand, and now you want credit for being authentic. The studio was dead silent. Even the crew seemed to stop moving. Jennifer stared at Joy for a long moment, and when she finally spoke, her voice was ice cold. And I think you represent everything that's wrong with media today. The cynicism that assumes the worst about successful women, the need to tear down, rather than understand, the way legitimate business acumen gets reframed as manipulation when it comes from someone who looks like me. This has nothing to do with how you look, doesn't it? Jennifer's eyebrows shot up, because I notice you don't question Taylor Swift's authenticity when she writes songs about her relationships. You don't question Oprah's authenticity when she builds a media empire around her personal brand. But somehow, when I do similar things, it's calculated and fake. Joy's face reddened. That's completely different. How? Explain to me exactly how it's different. Because they don't pretend to be something they're not. And what exactly am I pretending to be? Joy hesitated for just a moment, and in that hesitation, everyone in the studio could see she'd gone too far. You pretend to be this relatable, down-to-earth person when you live in a completely different reality. Jennifer's jaw dropped. I pretend, Joy, I have never once pretended to be anything other than exactly what I am. A woman who came from nothing and built something. A mother, trying to set an example for her children. An artist who takes her craft seriously. A businesswoman who understands her value. When have I ever claimed to be down-to-earth or relatable? The whole Jenny from the block persona. For starters, that was 20 years ago. And it wasn't a persona, it was a song about not forgetting where you came from while acknowledging where you are now. But apparently, nuance is too much to ask for. Joy was clearly struggling now. Look, I just think people deserve honesty from their celebrities, and I think people deserve better than journalists who decide someone is fake and then spend an the entire interview trying to prove it instead of actually listening to their answers. The tension in the room was suffocating. Sarah, Sunny, Alyssa, and even Whoopi looked deeply uncomfortable. Jennifer's publicist, sitting off camera, was making subtle hand gestures that were clearly suggesting they wrap this up. "You know what, Joy?" Jennifer said suddenly, her voice eerily calm. "I came here to talk about my music, my art, my journey as a creative person. Instead, I've spent the last 20 minutes defending my right to exist as both an artist and a businesswoman, defending my right to be strategic about my career without having my authenticity questioned, defending my right to protect my family and my brand without being called fake." She stood up slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. "I don't need to sit here and be psychoanalyzed by someone who has clearly already made up her mind about who I am and what I represent. I don't need to justify my success to anyone, especially not to someone who seems to think that being smart about business somehow disqualifies me from being genuine about art." Joy finally looked uncertain. "Jennifer, I think you're overreacting." Jennifer let out a short, sharp laugh. "Overreacting? Right. The emotional Latina is overreacting to being called fake and manipulative on national television. How predictable." She began removing her microphone with steady hands. "Wait, Jennifer," Whoopi said, clearly panicking. "Let's just take a breath here." "No, Whoopi, I'm done taking breaths. I'm done being polite. I'm done pretending that this kind of interview is normal or acceptable." She looked directly into the camera. "To anyone watching who's ever been told they're too ambitious, too strategic, too calculated for wanting to protect what they've built, you don't owe anyone an apology for your success." She turned back to Joy one final time. "And Joy, next time you want to have a conversation about celebrity culture and authenticity, maybe start with some authenticity of your own about why successful women threaten you so much." With that, Jennifer Lopez walked off the view set, leaving behind a panel of stunned hosts, a crew scrambling to figure out what to do next, and one of the most explosive celebrity interview moments in television history. Joy sat in her chair, mouth slightly open, clearly realizing she'd pushed too far. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the aftermath of a conversation that had spiraled completely out of control. What did you think of this explosive confrontation? Was Joy out of line, or did Jennifer overreact? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more celebrity drama breakdowns like this one.